Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth UK Live. Joining me tonight is the host of Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes on YouTube and co-host of Truth is Stranger Than Lies on Talk Network, Patricia Steere. A very, very warm welcome to Flat Earth UK.
Thank you very much, Nathan. It's really good being interviewed as opposed to interviewing. So I'm going to have to hold back my natural tendency to ask you questions.
Well, I'll hold back my tendency to be really delighted that you're on the show at all. I'm really, really pleased to have you here. On tonight's show, we'll be, of course, discussing all things Flat Earth and, of course, the globe lie. We'll also discuss hatred that has mustered its way into the Flat Earth community. We'll also discuss Flat Earth language and psychopaths, possibly even reptilians, angels and aliens. It's going to be mega. So, Patricia, can you kick us off by telling us, how did you find out the Earth is flat?
Well, it was back in March, very early March of 2015. I was looking at some moon hoax things on YouTube. And prior to that, I had been looking at 9/11 things and all the other hoaxes. So I was already on that wavelength and was just looking at this and that conspiracy and trying to figure out my thoughts on it. And then, of course, I stumbled into the moon hoax and was... I can't say I was surprised. The moon thing, although I was born in '63 and I grew up with that, it was nothing I was focused on. I wasn't a space lover. I didn't follow any NASA feeds or, on Facebook and didn't really care about any of that. I guess I assumed we went to the moon, but I actually never thought about it. Nobody ever challenged me about it and told me that we didn't go to the moon. So I never had a chance to say, yes, we did. Or anything like that. It was just one of those things in life I don't ever think about. Anyway, after watching some videos, Bart Sabrow videos and others, I said to myself, wow, this is big. And then a suggested video was Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues. So I thought, interesting, clicked, watched, fell into a rabbit hole. Several weeks later emerged after watching every video you could ever imagine. And ended up coming out the other side after pretty much not leaving my house, hardly eating, hardly drinking, hardly showering, coming out basically a zombie, staring at the night sky, staying up all night long, looking at the moon and saying to myself, what the bleep is going on here? And became a flat earther. So that was early March 2015.
So, it seems to be a consistent theme that people say that it's a suggested video, and probably just as consistent is that it's one of Mark's videos that gets suggested to them. Was there a point that you said, now I am a flat earther? And was there an event that you say took you to that stage? Or
I really can't speak to that because although it happened recently, now we're in December of 2015, somewhat recently, I can't quite recall. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall or videotaped my discovery, to remember exactly the series of events. But right when hearing the clues, it made sense to me. I knew there were gaps, bits of information that didn't make sense. And from the clues, I went forward and watched other videos by famous or infamous flat earthers, and then a lot of other people's videos, and helped myself fill in those gaps about things that I had questions about, like the International Space Station and satellites, little niggling things like that, things like the moon and eclipses, the blood moon, all of these issues. I had to research independently. Looking at some of Rory Cooper's My Perspective videos on YouTube helped me a lot with being able to see things. But I swear I became a flat earther almost instantly after watching the clues. That sounds crazy. That sounds like I didn't do my research or didn't do investigations. It just felt right. And I know feeling, people will say, oh, women just rely too much on feelings. It has nothing to do with me being a woman. It has a lot to do with just me intrinsically knowing this was true. I had to then figure out why it was true, how it was true, but I felt it was true. And other people's videos helped as well. I don't want to say it was all Mark Sargent, because Mark's on my show once a week on Monday on Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. So I don't want anybody to think that Mark, I've heard this in comments, Mark's her handler, these sort of shill rumors. No one's my handler. I can't even handle myself sometimes. But no, I don't agree with everything Mark says. I don't agree with anything anyone says. I take information from all the various people who make videos and even some debunkers and come up with my own conclusion about my own belief system about the flat earth. But I don't know the exact day on which I became a flat earther. It was probably early March, right when I saw that. And it took a while, like I said, to put the pieces together about the things that are a little bit more hard to figure out. Like I said, satellites, ISS. But once you figure it out, it's this feeling of happiness, weirdly. It should be depression. You should just start drinking immediately. Go in a bathtub, slit your wrist. It should be that, because everything you know is a lie. And it also spreads into other conspiracies. So it should be quite depressing. But it's this wonderful feeling, and everybody in Flat Earth knows what it's like. It's walking on air. It's wanting to tell everybody and like grab a stranger in the supermarket and shake them and say, the Earth is flat. But of course you can't do that because you'd be locked up. But yeah, that's
people would think you were nuts pretty quickly if you just started. I mean, I've had that contemplation. Should I stand on a street corner and just videotape me telling people the Earth is flat? But it's a cruel thing to do to somebody.
Yes. Have you had much luck? Oh, here I am interviewing you, but sorry, you'll have to stop me, but might as well finish my question. Have you had much luck with telling strangers about it?
I'll tell anybody. Literally, I'll tell quite. It depends how the conversation leads up to it. I mean, I'm more of an inquisitive person. So the last person I wanted to tell turned out to be of a certain faith that I was a bit shocked by. So I ended up quizzing him rather than sort of giving out the flat Earth spray. But yeah. I mean, one of the things I was hoping to find out from you, because you're in a very unique position, because you've been influenced by so many different theories and proofs. I mean, do you ever, you say obviously you make up your own mind, and that's clear just from watching you, but do you ever find it difficult to sort of draw a line between the two, between proof and theory?
Not really. Proof are things that people who do experiments have come up with, for the most part, because some of those can also be theoretical too. It can be seen one way or the other. I know one thing that through even my own experimentation, which has been quite limited, and maybe we'll address that later, that the Earth is flat. That's what I know. Dome, no dome, infinite plane, no infinite plane, puddles, no puddles. These are things that are theoretical. I find them extremely interesting to talk about. I don't think it's wrong that anybody has a pet theory, even if they're a leading flat earther and they're a proponent of that theory. Without theories, we'll never get this job done. We've got to think about them, speak about them, have other people challenge them, and then come to some sort of conclusion, and then do experiments and exploration to hopefully eventually figure out what this world is. I don't think that we're ever going to figure out exactly what it is. Maybe someday in the distant future. But at this point, I don't see, let's say there's a dome. I don't see somebody saying, here I am, here's a video of me touching the dome or something like that. I don't see that as being something that we're going to see on YouTube in the next week or so. I think these are much bigger ideas. And that's why theories come into play. And I'm open to all theories. People say, well, Earth could be a triangle. Yeah, I guess it could be a triangle. I'm talking about theories that are within the realm of possibility based on the experiments that many have done, based also on different types of religious texts, like the Bible, for example, or other religious texts who point to basically a world that is a plane as opposed to a ball.
I mean, how do you view the way the media actually puts flat Earth out there? I mean, you rightly point out that it's not necessarily mainstream and may not get there tomorrow. But by the same token, we're all influenced by media, us being that right now. How do you feel that media has got flat Earth into our veins or not? I don't know how you view it.
Oh, the media, the regular mainstream media. I try to avoid it as much as possible, but I do get glimpses of it because people send me all sorts of things, and I know you get sent all sorts of emails and messages as well about what this magazine or this news report is saying, or this blog in the mainstream, and it's almost a joke. Almost every single time, if they're going to point to who a flat earther is, they will identify a flat earther with the Flat Earth Society. Now, I don't know any flat earther who's a member of the Flat Earth Society. I think there's probably a few real flat earthers. I'll say real, meaning people who aren't Flat Earth Society members, who have a Flat Earth Society membership because maybe they registered as a joke to get a certificate, but they don't follow the beliefs of the Flat Earth Society. I don't even know if there's a video. I'm sure there is. I've never watched a video from the Flat Earth Society explaining their model of the Earth rising up and all this other weird stuff. But that's what the media goes to. That will be, if it goes mainstream, their go-to point man about what flat Earth is all about. They'll go directly to the Flat Earth Society to get disinformation that's put there on purpose. If you look flat Earth up on any of the major search engines, you're going to come up with the Flat Earth Society, and it's there for a reason, I believe. I don't know how long they've been prepared for us to find out the Earth is flat, but probably quite a long time. And they put key elements into play so that normal people who aren't flat earthers, when Googling, are going to come up and stumble into the Flat Earth Society, read a few bits of information and say, "Hoo, kooky," and then turn away. It's like that with many aspects. The Vsauce video on YouTube, the one that's got a bazillion hits about the Earth, the shape of the Earth. I've been sent that by people I've tried to tell about the flat Earth so many times I've lost track. I'd like that Vsauce video to totally disappear if I had a magic wand. Bing, gone. People go to that because it's got all the hits, and he's all bright and positive and googly-eyed and excited, and it seems factual because he's saying things that make sense. And people who don't know much about flat Earth will be like, "Yeah, you told the thing you told me about last night? Well, here's a video you've never seen," and then email it to me. I open my email and I'm like, "Oh, make it stop." So Vsauce, Flat Earth Society, and there are other stumbling blocks. That's how the mainstream media is portraying it. And then, of course, we've got our President Obama. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society, and there's been many such mentions of the flat Earth as a negative, as something only people who aren't educated or aren't intelligent would believe in. So the media is portraying us as kooks. In reality, flat earthers are the smartest, nicest, for the most part, most welcoming, open, engaging, creative, wonderful people I've ever met in my life. That's the reality of what the real flat Earth world is about, not what the media portrays us as.
Yeah, I think you summed it up nicely earlier when you basically said that life is happier on flat Earth. There's no two ways about that. It's true.
Yes, and you, in general, with your smile, you bring that element of like a happiness to flat Earth, which is really nice.
Well, I said it on one of the videos I did today, just before the show went out, that if you're not smiling about this stuff, you'd be so distraught with the lies that you see daily that you just drive yourself nuts. So you've got the choice, either laugh about it or cry about it. And I think laughing about it is a much better choice.
I agree completely.
I mean, one of the things The Truth is Stranger Than Lies is a great show. And you do talk a little bit about flat Earth on there. But one of the things I picked up on I don't know if it was your most recent show. I apologize if it wasn't. But on one of the shows, you sort of point out that most of what comes out of the media is orchestrated or lies. Would you agree with that wholeheartedly? Do you think all of it is factually incorrect, or what sort of percentage would you put on it?
I'd say the lies are, if I had to put a percentage on it, 75% lies.
Really,
and
that high?
The only things that are true on there might be a local story of a grandmother, 95-year-old, who rescued her toy poodle from sudden death at with the jaws of a dog, or something like that, or the happy story at the end where a family was reunited after 30 years. Those are the only true stories in the news, those feel-good stories at the end. I used to say that it was the weather that was true, but now with weather manipulation, that's not true anymore in the news. And then, of course, sports. Well, you could say, well, sporting events, well, that's true. Well, a lot of the games are rigged. So that can't be true information either. I don't know. I don't watch any mainstream news, and I don't read mainstream newspapers. I don't look at mainstream stuff online either. I pretty much only look at flat Earth stuff now, which is crazy. But I do try, and people message me these things, so that does help to keep abreast of how flat Earth is being portrayed, and NASA is being, what NASA is doing. I try to keep my mainstream eyes on that part, but the rest of it, I actually think it hurts you to look at it. It can affect you negatively. We're awake. I mean, I don't want to say we're awake so much so that means we are superior to people who are not awake. And I don't mean to say I'm so awake that there are things that I'm being lied to I don't know about. No, I'm sure there's many other things I've yet to discover. But we're awake, and being awake, you can engage, if you wish, in watching a mainstream movie or mainstream whatever if you want, because your eyes are open. And you're going to see those things that you didn't see before, like advertisements for Coca-Cola prominently in the movie that you didn't notice before, but afterwards you feel strangely thirsty and Coke sounds nice, that sort of thing. And you're awake to the way space is portrayed when you watch, the new Star Wars, if you choose to do so, or any of the other type of movies that are about space. You're awake in that you can almost play with it. You could sit there in the movie theater with your friend who's a flat earther, if you've got one in real life, which I don't, on a couch and say, "Oh my gosh, look at the fake curve of the earth in the movie." You can have fun with it. You're not going to be programmed. But most people are being programmed every day when they're watching mainstream. They are affected by it.
That was going to be the thing I kind of hoped you'd lead on to, in the respect that when you get some of the theories presented to you on flat earth and other hot potatoes, the people who are presenting those theories, in my humble opinion, are very much influenced by next levels of programming. Would you agree with that, or do you feel that that's not the case?
Well, I've interviewed a bunch of different people, and they all have different, not all, but many of them have different viewpoints on what the flat earth is. Some of them have been influenced by Christianity. So one could say, to play the devil's advocate, although I shouldn't use the word devil and Christianity in the same sentence, but you see where I'm going here. Yeah. Some who are not of that faith or belief system may say that they are being influenced by the level of programming of religion. Okay, so I'll give you that. I'm saying that from a neutral perspective. Somebody who believes that there is an endless plane has been maybe programmed by a favorite flat earther to believe in that. Somebody who believes there's a dome could be programmed by either Christianity or a religion or a major flat earther. So I mean, I guess we all are influenced by what we watch and that sort of thing. Everything we say and do, somebody else could watch it and get a different view on what they already think, or get a brand new view on what we think. So we actually have to be careful when we're talking about things to remember to say, this is my theory. But you can't always do that. You can't always put that at the end of every sentence. So you have to assume that people are intelligent enough to be able to understand that you're not saying, this is fact, believe it, period.
Yeah,
but you can't always expect that from everyone.
Over using simulation theory, and he's a game developer. Why the hell shouldn't he? That's what he's going to fall back on, and he's got every right to put his opinion forward. I don't understand why he gets attacked. And by the same token, you get loads of keyboard warriors that will attack you, not even on what you've said, but on something that your guest has said, and it's just nuts.
Well, I also get attacked because of the way I physically look, which is really weird. I don't think that many men have that happen. I get attacked because I am wearing clothes that might appear to be fashionable to somebody. But my background, like Mark's, is gaming. My background, well, one of the things was radio, and another was I owned a women's boutique clothing store, and I've always been interested in fashion. Since I got into flat earth, well, I'm not into purchasing clothing anymore, but I'm sure going to wear the stuff I've got because it's just was a passion, because of the artistry of it, the art and design elements. I'm interested in that sort of thing. And so I've been called on the carpet for being superficial because I, put on lipstick and wear something stylish, or at least I think is stylish, which is kind of crazy because we're talking about ideas. And I'm not here talking about what color nail polish I wear or what new shoes I bought. I never talk about those things. I don't really care about those things. I used to. And they're still a part of my personality, but they're not part of anything I'm presenting here on my show or with you or with anybody else. I don't think a woman who, some women don't feel the need to present themselves in a feminine way, but I'm talking about women who do. I don't think that makes a woman less intelligent or less viable as a person who's going to be in the flat earth community, that she wants to put on mascara. It's just part of a culture that many would say we should move away from, and we should completely distance ourselves from all technology and go live off the grid. In a way, I agree with all of that. That might be more of an ideal society, but it's not the society we live in. And it's not the society that would allow us to be speaking right now, because if we had that society, we wouldn't be using the internet. So we've got the internet. Image is important, at least to some. And I present myself in a way that I find pleasing. And if other people have problems with it, the problem is theirs, not mine.
Yeah, I'd agree. And the other thing I'd add to that is when you discuss flat Earth with some of your guests, you will go on to sort of life topics, and it has everything to do with flat Earth. Flat Earth is such a monumental change to somebody's life that it is interesting to sort of see you quiz people on how their daily lives are affected. And people will read into it, well, is she just discussing the weather? And it's like, well, no, you're just discussing fundamental parts of people's lives now that flat Earth is in that life. And you know, that to me was always one of the most fascinating parts of your interviews. I mean, have you come across people that have attacked you for anything on a more fundamental level to do with flat Earth? The keyboard warriors, that is.
Yes, and that would be that I don't do experiments, and I don't provide proofs on my show. But I never said I was going to. When I started this, which was August 23rd of 2015, and remember, I found out about flat Earth in March of 2015. There was a gap of time there. The gap of time was me just going through life, thinking about flat Earth and continuing to watch videos. But it got to a point where I said, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened in your life. You have to do something. What are you going to do? Well, you could make flat Earth t-shirts because you used to own a clothing store and you made t-shirts. And I thought, well, okay, that's fun and all, but then to what end? I try to sell t-shirts. People call me, a sellout. Okay, that's not going to help anybody, although making t-shirts is cool, and I encourage people to do that. But I was kind of thinking, oh, that might happen. And how much of an impact will I make with just doing that? Then I thought, well, you were in radio for a while, small market radio, and you interviewed people and were a DJ. So you're not going to be spinning records. That won't make sense. How about just ask the people that you've been listening to, try to get a hold of them. Maybe they won't talk to you, but try to get a hold of them and ask them questions that you were thinking while you were listening to them. And I remember thinking, I don't know, I'll just use the example of Matrix Decode, listening to some of his videos and thinking, I wonder how he found out about flat Earth. I wonder what his life's like. What does he do for a living? What does he do in his day? How does he deal with people that aren't flat earthers? Relationships. I wondered those things while I listened to each and every person. I wondered that about Mark Sargent. Like, he talks about his mother in some of his Strange World episodes. And this is before I met him. I thought, wow, his mother became a flat earther. I wonder what that conversation was like. Interesting. And I thought about that. And I said, you know what? Maybe you should do it. You could do it. You could ask people those questions that you're thinking yourself. Not everybody's wondering these things, but probably enough will wonder it to want to watch their favorite flat earthers talk about themselves and their models and their viewpoints and their flat earth proofs. So a combination. So yes, I have been told that I just talk about the weather with guests, which is untrue. We've never talked about the weather. But yes, people say that. They may have watched the first 2 minutes of the show where I ask a person where they're from, where they went to school or something like that. And then they just go, this show's stupid. There's no proofs of flat earth. Comment, dislike, But they say, you never talk about flat earth. It's only in the title, Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And I feel like saying, you must have just watched 20 seconds then. So people will say things, good things and bad things. And you have to be very happy to have the good things said. But you have to remember that that's not the world. And you have to read the bad things and say, okay, they have that right. They're wrong, but they have that right. And you have to just say that's not the whole world either. Sometimes bad things can help because if they're bad things said in the right way, not just a person trying to troll you or put you down because you talk about the weather or something that's not even true, but they can be actual, real constructive criticism that can be quite positive. And I've actually commented on people's videos myself that I thought, what a great video. But if they just did this one thing, it would make it even better. And I'll post something along the lines of, I'm just going to use an example, although I've never done it to you. Hey, Nathan, love your video. I'm subscribed and I'm commenting. I love everything about this video. But that one proof at the end where you showed it to the left, if you put it to the right, maybe it'll make all these other people who are commenting they don't understand be able to understand. Keep up the good work. Share it on Facebook and Twitter, Patricia Steere. Post. That kind of comment, to me, is positive.
Yeah,
because nobody's perfect. Yeah, nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. People can see it through a different person's eyes. if somebody told me to stop saying a certain phrase that I would say over and over again or something, because it's misleading, I would take that as a positive too. But just saying things like, you're wearing a red wig, post. I'm like, okay, no, I'm not, number one. And number two, what if I were? Who cares? You don't know my life. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was waiting for you to say who cares, because I didn't want to say it first because it seems really rude. But I mean, I heard about or read about, I should say, the costume stuff, and you think, why am I reading this? No disrespect to you, but who cares? You know, it's not relevant to me what you've done in your past, as much as it's nice to chat about it. And why people focus on this stuff just seems bizarre.
Well, I don't know what you mean about my past, but I did do a Halloween show this year. And that is where I wore a Halloween costume. It was on Halloween. And both of my guests, one was Mark Sargent and one was David Weiss, also wore Halloween costumes. And we called it Flatoween because, in my opinion, in the States, Halloween is the most popular adult holiday, believe it or not. And I know in the UK, it's smaller but fancy dress parties, but growing. But it's not something maybe you grew up with. But we in America grew up trick-or-treating, house to house, ring the doorbell, people give you candy, you wear costumes when you're a child, you look forward to it. Some people find it satanic. I grew up where it had nothing to do with anything satanic. It was just fun. I wore, varying fun costumes, princess, or, just something when you're a little girl that you wish you could be or something. And I thought it would be fun to do a Halloween show in costume, a complete normal show talking about flat Earth. But it would be just fun because flat Earth can be fun. And the haters came out and portrayed me as being a person who wears a costume all the time, or they would show images of me in my costume on my show as that's how I look. I always wear costumes. Well, I've only worn one costume and it was on Halloween. But people take things out of context and splash them about all over or comment all over. Well, she's always wearing costumes. Yeah, one time on a Halloween show. It's the same as those people who watch other people's videos carefully and then slow them down. People who use their hands, people who gesture like this, whatever, and they'll find their hand at just the right moment making a Masonic hand sign. But of course, the person's just talking with their hands. And they freeze frame that and say, look, it's Baphomet. Look, it's Masonic. Look, right here, proof, positive, 100%, debunked, case closed. Comment, make a video, call the person out. Other people who may not be as savvy to what's going on will watch that video about their favorite flat earther, Joe Blow, and how they're, a bad person, or they're really a Mason, or they're a shill, and watch that video and decide without investigating further. And their mind will be brainwashed. Pretty much the same way our minds were brainwashed by NASA and by the government. You would think that flat earthers, because we've already worked our way through running the gauntlet, jumping over all the hurdles that mainstream's put in front of us by investigating, would investigate more deeply into the name calling and finger pointing and the way people are painted with tarred with a brush. We'd look into it, not just believe a single video by somebody. But sadly, it's not the case with a few people. They believe what they're presented on YouTube, just like we believe what we were presented on TV by NASA.
You're presenting loads of flat Earth proof. I mean, the people that you have on your show, Robin Poe alone had an amazing flat Earth proof, and that's on your show. So how people can say that you don't present proof is beyond me. Well,
they heard somebody else say it. They passed it along from that. They heard I wear costumes. It was passed along from there. It's that sort of thing. And I know that this is since you've asked, I'm talking to it. I generally ignore all of this stuff or laugh it off, but it is sad. And I know I am not the only person that's fallen victim to this, but I do think for some strange reason, I do get a lot more hate than other flat earthers. Not all of them, but other flat earthers. And I don't know why. I don't have a huge channel. At the date of the recording of this, it's December 9th, 2015, and I have a little over 4,000 subscribers, which may seem like a lot, but it's not a lot. There's channels out there in mainstream with, innumerable subscribers within the flat Earth community.
You do know, really. I mean, you said at the beginning, it's because you're an attractive woman, and people hate that.
Well, I didn't really say that, but I just think maybe because I'm female, and that's I don't know why I'm a target. I think that it would be good that there would be a female in Flat Earth because there are more men in conspiracy than women. It's just the numbers. That's just how it is. Having more women in it could potentially make more women come in, maybe, because maybe some women will feel this is a boys' club. I'm not going there. So maybe a woman would help. But also it just adds an element of what we all are. We are a family of humans, which are men and women, and having both in there in the Flat Earth world is representative of the world in which we live. So, hey, more women is good. And when Orphan Red first came on the scene, another YouTuber, I was the first person to interview her because there she is. She's a woman. Let's talk with her. Robin Poe as well. And there's a couple other women that I've wanted to talk to as well that I'll have on. But I've been told you don't have that many women on. Well, there's not that many women in Flat Earth who either have large proofs or are making abundant videos. One video might not be enough to have somebody on your show. Several videos, yes. One proof could be enough, though. But, it all depends. I play it by ear. But having more women on, good. Having a woman who's interviewing people, good. Having men who's interviewing people, good. There's no bad in any of this. It's just many different ways to get the word out. I mean, it's all positive. Just like Flat Earth.
The words you're getting out, I mean, the proof positives are the ones I like. I mean, did you have a favorite of the ones so far, the people you've interviewed that have presented you with proof? Did you like one?
I love Robin Poe. I really like Brian Mullen. He does the show Balls Out Physics. But Brian did 3 videos and I can't find him anymore. I don't know what happened. I haven't heard back from him. I messaged him. Other people have said they've messaged Brian Mullen as well. He seems to have not put out any new videos. And I don't know if he received lots of peer pressure or his career could be, cut because of it. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back with a fantastic video next. And I'm all wrong about this. But he was a favorite. And I've often directed people to his videos because he's using math. And a lot of people who are new to the Flat Earth world, who come from a science background, an education background, they're a physicist or what have you, astronomer, they're not going to listen to somebody talking about, well, they feel it's a dome, or I feel an endless plane and we need to go to Antarctica and discover. They're going to think, what a bunch of kooks. But if somebody's got a chalkboard and math figures, PowerPoint presentation sort of thing, and they can show you with math that this Flat Earth works, that will draw the attention of the naysayers. And there's so many people who are naysayers. I thought Brian was a good one. Same way with Robin Poe and her proofs as well. So proofs are great. Theories are great. I'm open to all of it. It's just many different ways to get the message out there, because we're all different people with different sorts of ideas. So that's why I like to have different people on the show to talk with.
So would you say, I mean, I'd probably agree with you. Brian Mullen is I've shared his videos and there's only 3 of them, more than any. He's just fantastic.
Yes. He's great for people who...
was genuinely on the floor when I watched those videos.
And he's so pleasant too, smiling. And I mean, that doesn't mean that I only like people who are pleasant and smiling. I like people who have like a bite to them too. I like all sorts of different types of presentations. But for somebody who's a newbie to Flat Earth or has never heard of it, somebody who's bright, smiling, well-spoken, intelligent with math proofs, hey, that's the gold standard. It's a perfect thing to send to people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but about Flat Earth going mainstream, do you think this is a genuine possibility? Do you think we can push it into radio or into television?
Some days I say yes, some days I say no. And it all depends on what I've been looking at that day, or what messages I've received that day, or if I've left my house that day. Because if I'm home and just on internet world, Flat Earth world, message world, my own private world, I'm feeling excited and, oh my gosh, these people just emailed me and they said that they saw so-and-so on my show and then subscribed to his or her channel and now they're a Flat Earther and thank you very much for introducing me to them. Or, just whatever people are saying, positive people, excited about it, telling their family, I convinced my girlfriend, that sort of thing makes you feel like jumping up and down and screaming, yes, it's happening. We're moving forward. Everyone's going to know. And boy, those people have been hating me are going to have their day. They're going to be like, oh, it is flat. She was right. And you just feel really excited about all of this. And then those days when you leave the house and you go out into the world and you're in the grocery store and you hear people talking about, oh, NASA's got there. I saw they're on Mars and oh, it's so beautiful in our universe. And you're just like, oh, holding your head and it's aching. And you're saying it's never going to go mainstream. People are too brainwashed.
I mean, talking of brainwashing, again, you touched on this with David Weiss on Truth is Stranger Than Lies, about the words that were being used. And the examples you gave were globally, and I think it was in space or something like that. But you were pointing out that no matter how these things get phrased by politicians, they're always dropping in words like globally just to cement the lie-ness, always. I mean, do you think that even by the way we are presenting this information now, that we are perpetuating the globe lie?
No, I think we're the antidote to the globe. I think we're the only vaccine the world needs. Flat earthers. Everyone needs to have the flat earth shot. And other than that, no vaccines, please.
What about when it comes to back to sort of media propaganda, when it comes to what I would consider being the next big lie, which is things like CERN? Do you think that people will just slip into the next level of programming and lies in the same way that 99% of people are still under the current lie with the globe?
Do you mean how some people believe that the moon landings were a hoax, but they still believe the ISS? You mean how people have eyes somewhat open yet sort of closed?
Exactly. So people will buy one lie and not buy another.
I don't get that at all. I am open to, and this might make me a kook in someone's eyes, I'm open to all sorts of things that we've been told being untrue. There's things I've even started looking into now that I saw prior to being a flat earther, videos on it, and I just said, that's too weird, and then didn't look. Something made me look at the flat earth thing. I guess it was moon hoax. But there was not like the one big thing that led me to this thing I'm about to talk about that has made it seem possible. And that was, check this out, you may have heard of it already, cloning centers, where supposedly people, famous people, regular people, clones are made of them in some kind of centers scattered all over, even in Canada. And these people are abused ritually by the elites, and they know that this is happening, but they don't know. And it's this whole world. It's a whole world I never looked into before, because I thought, whoo, that's out there. But now that I'm a flat earther, which is whoo, that's out there to many, I thought, you know what? You'll do yourself a disservice if you do not look into this. So I just started looking into it, and I'm not sure where I am on it at all. I am going to look into it, though, because if I don't, I am guilty of what people are guilty of when they think, ooh, a flat earth video, what a bunch of freaks. Click, let's watch something on Beyonce. You know, I don't want to be that person. So if information about CERN comes forward, more than I already know, or all these other things that are out there, these next big lies that you're talking about, I'm definitely myself going to be delving into it. Will there be people who are flat earthers who will refuse to look into it? Sure. But I think flat earthers have more of a chance than others to look into it, because already we've crossed the Rubicon. We are on that other side, and we're not afraid, most of us anyway. Some are keeping it on the down low and hiding about what they believe. But most of us, like, look at us. We're here talking on camera. I'm using my real name, and you're using your real name. So we're not, we're fine with it. Some flat earthers will shy away from looking at things like CERN, and some will go forward. I'm hoping more of us will go forward. Even if we end up, whatever we're looking at ends up being complete and utter garbage, it's just something you can, like a piece of paper, ball up and throw in the trash can and then move forward and look at the next thing. But to just close the door on anything as a flat earther, any new big lies coming, it's the wrong thing to do for yourself, for your own mind, and for everybody else that you potentially might influence if you have a show, or if you're flat earther just telling your neighbor about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of your other guests was, I always get this wrong, is it Rob Skeever? Is that
yes,
right?
Rob Skeever.
Rob Skeever, that's right.
Not B.
I can't find the link to the bit that he described something that I've tried to put into words so many times and failed. But he had a little piece in one of his rather long videos, which is why I can't find it. It was probably in a 2-hour video where he explains wicked lies. And he would say, you said earlier, maybe 75% of it's lies and only 25% of it's true. Whereas what Rob Skiba had said was that
B as in boy.
Measure of both. So you have like a wick, you have them twisted together, lies and truth. So again, with NASA, some of the stuff that they're doing is factually accurate and true science and produces product. Some of it does not. And the same, I suppose, could be said with CERN. There's going to be a certain amount of science that comes out of there that is very much truthful and gives us genuine answers, but it's still going to be mixed up with the lies at the same time, which is the concerning bit. But yeah, it's a tricky one because there is so much theory out there, and so many people don't necessarily, filter out the lies from the truth. And with stuff like clone centers coming to fruition, I immediately sort of want to track back and find where people have got the information from in the first place. And my classic example is always going to be things like American Dad, where every single episode of that show has got the idea of cloning in the show, regardless of what the episode is. You've got that fish, Klaus, I think his name is. So it's a mainstream idea that I think is just programmed into people. But it's another one worth looking into.
I'd never heard of that. Is it a show, a TV show? American Dad?
Yeah, it's a Seth MacFarlane. It's like Family Guy and The Cleveland Show, but it's about your CIA agent American dad who's got his family. And one of the things that they dabble with in almost every episode is either him jumping into a avatar to go and sleep with his son, and I kid you not, right down to them being put into the goo and sent into virtual reality like clones. And again, the show has continually got clones in it. The fish character in the show is basically a talking goldfish, is a avatar / clone. He's a German guy that they've captured, taken his brain out and put into an animal. So we're programmed with this stuff all the time. It's mad. So to hear it from people who are quote unquote woken up to the flat earth, you just think, well, parallel universes, avatars, cloning, they're all on the same theme, and we've had it from our media just like the globe for a long time. But that's just my take.
I've never heard of the American Dad show, but hearing you describe it, it seriously sounds like whoever wrote that was on probably mushrooms, and I don't know what else too. It's a bunch of things. It sounds insane, but one aspect of some of those things can be true, of course. Just like you look at The Simpsons, also, and animation, and The Simpsons and Family Guy, all of these shows, so many others, have things that actually are true in them. So that doesn't mean because American Dad has things in it that they aren't actually true. So
no, definitely not. Just because they're programmed in the same way we have, the truth in plain sight in our adverts. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a lie just because it's in the media. As I say, it's always worth looking into this stuff. Same with Mandela effect. As much as I knock that, I praise people who look into this stuff.
Did you ever have a Mandela effect thing, one of the elements of it that you identified with, like, wow, that actually is different than I remember it? Is there any?
Well, yeah, and loads of people have highlighted good stuff that you could say is Mandela related. I think I'm sure it was Insanity is Sanity said about the northern pole, the northern ice regions melting away and reforming, and you think, well, yeah, I read that in books too. And you think, well, yeah, but I read it in books or looked it up online. And, there's a much more feasible explanation in my mind for a lot of the Mandela effect. But if we go down this little rabbit hole too far, this will stop being a flat earth show. That's the concern.
Yeah, that's very true. That's true. I do have to say that in the Mandela effect world, the one interview with a vampire, I believe it was that, and I don't remember it being an interview with the vampire. And so that's the one that made me say, wow, you know what, maybe there's something to this. It also could be faulty memory, of course. Sometimes I don't remember what I did yesterday. And is that the Mandela effect, or just the fact that I was concentrating on other things at the time? So I can't remember what I had for dinner or something like that yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So is it our memory, or is it really something happening? I'm open to the possibility of it being either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to everything, the same as you say, but it always brings a massive smile to my face when you have a little chat about the Mandela effect, and if you steer the conversation a certain way, you will eventually reach a point where someone will say, "Is flat Earth a result of the Mandela effect?" And I have to shake my head and go, "No, no, it's
I've never heard that
always
before.
been flat."
Wow. I'm worried about them tying, and I don't think it's going to happen, and I'll tell you why, but I'm worried about them somehow tying the flat Earth to terrorism or something like that. But I don't think they'll be able to do it. You know, like one of these events, those shootings or bombings that you might want to call hoax or false flag or international business crime, if you don't want to use either, because sometimes people die, sometimes they don't. We don't really know the whole story. But I'm always afraid that they're going to say, well, we went to the house of the suspects and they had a bunch of, on their computer were Nathan Oakley videos and Patricia Steere flat earth and other hot potatoes and Mark Sargent videos and these books on flat earth from Eric Dubay. And these people were weird. They're crazy. They're, you know, insane and tying a terrorist activity to flat earth. But I worry about it sometimes. But then I don't, because the minute they do that, they're going to be putting in mainstream flat earth. So
Yep.
maybe it would be a good thing if they did it, because people would be like, what? Nathan Oakley? What? Mark Sargent? Who? What? Flat earth? Google, Google, Google. Whoa, mind blown. New flat earther born. Of course, also it could go the other way. Oh, these people are crazy, and they'll move away from it. But the minute you mention flat earth in real society, in mainstream, it's gonna make people curious, because that's our nature. We're curious. I hope it doesn't happen, though, because they could. I mean, you hear about these things like they're going to put us all in FEMA camps and all of this sort of fear and paranoia. Hey, I'm not saying that they might not do that eventually someday. Who knows? There's lots of weird things going on in the world. But having people who are, quote, truthers, I hate that term, but, people who are interested in seeking truth, seen as the problem and rounded up or something like that. And flat earthers would be probably thrown into that mix. But that's why we need to grow more flat earthers, get more people involved, because there's strength in numbers.
And it may be that the sort of the impression that the powers that be give off about flat Earth as being sort of dumb might work to our advantage in that regard. Because if we're all seen as stupid tree huggers, it's going to be a difficult sell to convince them that we're, terrorists.
Yes, indeed, that is correct. I mentioned that I'm vegan in my show probably once a show, just sort of casually throw away. And if I want to be branded as a terrorist, she's vegan for the animals and a terrorist. That doesn't make any sense. And look at you, smiling and bright and pleasant. Doesn't look like a terrorist to me. In fact, flat earthers, generally speaking, most of them are really nice people who are doing this, whether or not they monetize their channel, basically for free. Because unless you've got a bazillion subscribers, you're not making anything on your videos if you monetize them. And it doesn't make you a bad person or a sellout that you do, or if you, as we went back talking about t-shirts, or if you sell t-shirts or clocks, flat earth keychains, any of those things. People aren't doing it for money. If you make some money, it's fine, because you're using your time. So if we are painted as terrorists who are basically doing this for free and not gaining anything about it, except for people sending us horrible messages all the time and saying bad things about us, what kind of terrorists are we? I just don't think they'll be able to tie terrorism or anything negative to flat earthers, other than just the tinfoil hat thing that we all have.
Yeah, I mean, I think in reality, the people who give us the globe lie are the terrorists. And I mean, terrorists probably isn't the right word. Psychopaths is probably a better word. But
yes,
I mean,
I agree.
what's your understanding when it comes to? I'm going to use a term that's not mine now, but a Thomas Sheridan term, which is the psychopathic control grid. Have you heard that term before?
Yes, I have. That's who runs the world. From the top that we don't even know who they are, the mystery level that pulls the strings of the puppets that we do see on TV and hear on radio and read about in the paper, all the way down to just somebody local who's going along with the system, might feel in their bones that something's wrong here, but they don't say anything because their paycheck is at stake, their status is at stake. There is a psychopathic control grid, and it's hard to break out of it if you're in it, even if you wake up to flat earth, because there's got to be people who have seen flat earth videos who are politicians. I mean, because if they look on YouTube for any random thing, it could potentially come up as a suggested video. And maybe one or two have watched it. And they might be part of, like you said, the psychopathic control grid. They watch that, they could dismiss it, but there's that doubt that's been put into their head. And the doubt is about what they're doing for a living and a career. That's even more psychopathic. When you continue to stay in that field doing what you do because you want that paycheck, and what you're doing is bringing the world to a point where we might lose everything, including our lives. That's the real psychopath, the ones that are aware they're doing it. Then there's the other ones who are just doing it, I guess, because that's what they do. But the ones who are semi-awake doing it.
Describes that type of person as a proto-psychopath. In other words, just a regular guy that has been so influenced by psychopathic behavior that they essentially just become like a psychopath, even though if you put them under an MFRI scanner and scan their brain, they wouldn't actually show up as being a psychopath. They would have empathy, unlike a real psychopath. But I think you're right. I think Matt Boylan or Matt Powerland was explaining that the people who've had their checks paid off, they're in that industry, they're write-offs. There's no hope for them.
Yeah, I agree. And Thomas Sheridan said it way better than I ever could, but I agree with what he's saying, definitely.
Yeah, I'd love to have Thomas Sheridan on. I know he gets a lot of stick for not being a flat earther, and frankly I've got no desire to convert Thomas Sheridan to flat earth, because I don't think it's particularly important to somebody whose specialist field isn't necessarily linked that heavily to flat earth. But the guy's an expert when it comes to psychopaths, and as you say, they're the people running the show. If there's a reason for the globe lie, they're the reason. But I think because he's not a flat earther, he doesn't get as much credence from the flat earth community, which is sad. I don't know.
I have two thoughts on that. One of them would go exactly with what you're saying. And then I have this other thought that there are people who have good information that could do things to change the world. And they are, with the information that they're putting out. But they have been presented with flat earth. They know the models. They know how it works. They know why they know everything. They know as much as we do. But they still won't discuss flat earth. I have a problem with it. I know you don't as much. I do. It's not. I either think that they're gatekeepers, they're being paid to just go only so far with their truth telling, or they're very short-sighted about humanity and they're doing the world a disservice. And I won't call out any names here, but we all could probably come up with a couple tip of the tongue, that are those people who I think should look into something that, once you really look into it, there's no denying the earth is flat. Sorry. There's just no denying it. There's no denying NASA lied. What model you want to believe in? Well, yeah, that's up to you, up to how you've been convinced, what resonates with you. But the measurable lack of curvature, you can't deny it. The way you can see a boat you think has disappeared over the curve and then just use your simple cell phone to pull it back in. So many other proofs that you can do yourself for basically free. If these people won't do those things, or have done them, or have even seen videos of others doing it and decide that's not worth my time discussing, I'd rather talk about X, Y, and Z, I kind of think that I don't know, I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong and bad, and they should talk a little bit about flat earth too, because all conspiracies are tied to flat earth. All of the negative things that these people are railing against, like poverty and oppression and wars, greed, suffering, it's all tied back to flat earth and the psychopathic control grid. And you've got to bring it down by waking people up, but only by staying in your little safe corner and talking about the little issues that you've got. That, to me, is wrong. So that maybe I'm being too opinionated, but hey, why not? I've got a microphone.
Now, I'm glad you said it. Did you hear that, Thomas? Talking flat earth.
But somebody can be brilliant, somebody can be influential, somebody can be helpful, but they could do more of what they're already doing if they just look into it and then just speak on it. It doesn't
But do you
have to
think
be
it
the
could be
mainstay.
the programming's so strong, it's so unbelievably powerful that even people who are heavily into truth, as you call them, people who are into conspiracy theories, can be, blindsided so much by the globe programming. Do you not think that's true?
How? How? I still
Well, the
don't
same
know
way
how.
99% of us are still thinking we're on a globe, even if we tell them, and the haters that are the keyboard warriors that will send you evil messages about, globe lies, same reason.
Yes, but they're not awake yet. But the people who are awake, that's the part that I have an issue with. I don't see why they can't take it the next step. What they've done is they've seen a ladder, they've climbed up the ladder, and then stayed on a rung. They see the other rungs above them, but they're like, I'm not going up there. It's safer here. I will have more influence here. It's more stable. Go up there, it's a little tippy. Yeah, some people might unsubscribe or stop liking me. I'll be seen as a wacko. I'll stay right here. So that knowledge of wanting the safety and comfort and to keep as many subscribers as they can, that worries me about them. And it worries me about all the other things they're talking about. It's like, can I trust them with the other things if they're not willing to go farther? And I don't mean that the top of it all is flat earth. I think it is at this point the mother of all conspiracies, but there could be more. And there could be something bigger than this. I don't know, an element to flat earth or something. And I know nothing about what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that we can't be short-sighted and say, yeah, we're here, top of the ladder, da 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 da. This is it, flat earth.
No, I think
Everything
bang
else.
on. I think you're right. I mean, the flat Earth itself could be a reason to hide something else. I mean, people have speculated that they're hiding God or hiding more land or hiding whatever. But I think that's what it boils down to. The flat Earth deception is there for a reason, and we don't know what that reason is at this stage.
Right. And so we shouldn't rest on our laurels and believe we found it, the key to everything. We have to continue looking and figure out why. Is it hiding God? Is it more land, like you said? Or is it all of it? I mean, I tend to think it's hiding God and hiding more land and hiding some enclosure that we're in, maybe some science experiment, maybe some amusement for somebody, maybe something in a way in which we're protected by something. I don't know really what it is. It could be a combination of many of those things. But the why,
possibly linked all together by wicked lies. I know back to your interview with Rob Skeever, and talking about, was it the Nephilians?
Yes,
that's
Nephilim,
probably
yeah.
the infinite plane theory, isn't it? But how did you feel when he was laying out some of the biblical stuff about the Nephilians? It's pretty heavy stuff.
Yes, it's interesting. A lot of people have mentioned that sort of thing, and I'm not quite sure what to believe on that. I don't have the biblical background that he does, nor have I delved into it to that degree. I can't say that I'm a neutral interviewer because I always give my opinions. But my background coming into Flat Earth isn't coming from a Catholic perspective or a Jewish perspective or a Christian perspective.
Do you believe in God?
I used to not believe in God at all. I used to be, well, I was brought up Christian, baptized Christian, went to Sunday school as a little girl. I've said this before. My mom was Jewish. Before she married my dad, who was Christian, they decided, because my dad's family was a bit worried about that combination, but this was in the 1950s, the Dark Ages. She decided, well, she would convert and went through some kind of process, I don't know, with the church and converted to Christianity. So when they had their 3 children, I being the oldest, we were all baptized. We were Christian, and we went to Sunday school as kids. You color a picture of Jesus or something. I don't even remember, sing some hymns. We only went on Sundays, and then that tapered off to only going on Easter and Christmas, and then that tapered off to absolutely nothing. But we always had a Christmas tree. And when I was 9, my mom told us, well, you have Jewish heritage. My mother was Jewish, and technically in the Jewish religion, that means I'm Jewish, and that means you're Jewish. And we're like, what's Jewish? And we lived at the time in Kalamazoo, Michigan, in the States. I imagine there's Jewish people there, but I didn't know any. It was just one of those kind of things. And I remember going to school the next day and telling a girlfriend, I'm Jewish on my mom's side. And she said, what's that? And I told her, well, it's different. And I couldn't even explain what it was. And then the next day, that girl came to me and said, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And I said, why? And she said, you killed Jesus. I'm like, what? You know, I'm 9, go home and tell my mom. And she had to explain to me about that whole thing. But Jesus was Jewish, but, you know, don't worry about it, you know, anyway. So my religious background, believing in God, believing in Jesus, all of that sort of faded through time as I became a young adult, went to high school, young adult. We had the Christmas tree type thing, but no other sort of Christian elements to our life growing up, and not any Jewish elements at all. But as time went on, I never considered myself an atheist. I never joined atheist clubs or told people I was an atheist. I was interested in science and truth, like most of us were before, exploring that. And I couldn't understand by looking around the world how there could be a God, because everything's just such a mess. And there's a song that came out in the 80s by the UK group XTC, X.T.C. Andy Partridge is the lead singer. I used to be a DJ, so that's why this is somewhat, you know, kind of second nature to me. And the song was called Dear God. And there's also a video that was on MTV at the time during the start of MTV. And it's a little boy, it's a great song actually, railing against God, like, Dear God, writing this letter to God in song. How could there be this war and this suffering and this pain? And I don't believe in you. And it's the kind of song at the time in the 80s that gave me chills, like, wow, it's true. There's no God. There can't be. Look around. It's horrible. But I was in that age of teen angst where, you know, you're a teenager. Things seem so dire and drastic and dark to some teens. Anyway, you know, you wear black, or you stay in your room and read some obscure poetry, and you feel like you're not part of this world. And you just sort of, well, not all teens, but many teens take that route of being a little different and unique and they question everything. And then a lot of people stop doing that and never question anything again once they leave teenhood and become part of mainstream. But some of us continue questioning our whole life. But during teen years, I thought, no God. In my 20s, no God. Never an atheist. But still close. Until March 2015, when I found out the earth was flat. Then I believed in a creator. Like, just automatically. Because I said, this thing was made. People have asked me, well, a ball could have been made too. But why are we important then when we're on this, and we've heard everyone say it, on this small sphere, just like every other sphere floating out there, spinning and shooting here and there and everywhere. And, you know, you just imagine seeing the ball Earth, and then the camera backs up, and then you see a galaxy and another galaxy and another galaxy. And you know, you're nothing. You're not even a speck anymore. You're just completely unimportant. But with flat Earth, you're front and center. You're right there. Your sun and moon are right above you, made for you. Yeah, maybe we're a science experiment. Okay. Maybe we're being held captive and experimented on. Okay. But yet, something made it, whatever this is. And it made me feel there's a creator. Am I worshiping the creator? No, I don't think of it as worship. I don't think a creator, unless it's something really bad, would want to be worshipped. You know, like, oh, pray to you. Do I respect? Yes. Do I feel a connection? Yes. Do I still see the negative things happening and think to myself, why would a creator allow that? I don't know. It seems like a creator, if indeed this is true, made everything and said, okay, you guys on your own now, handle it.
I suppose that brings me on nicely to the next question, which is, do you believe in the devil then?
I don't believe in a classic devil. I didn't grow up in that kind of household where we even talked about Jesus or the devil. Like, it was just God, I guess. Do I believe in the devil? I believe there's evil. So I guess technically I should maybe believe there's a devil. No, I don't. Ooh, hard question. Don't really have an answer to that. I believe there's good and bad. I believe there's duality. And I believe that we as humans not only should pick good, but we're hardwired to pick good. Because when you do something bad, you have a feeling in your body that's like, ugh, that was bad. And when you do something good, something just so simple like giving a guy some change or $5 or something, you feel this feeling in you, physical feeling. You tingle, you feel happy for a moment. So
But
those
one
things
in
are
20
in
of us
us.
don't get that feeling. The people that control the show don't get that feeling at all.
Yeah, that's true. They get the feeling of good when they do something bad. They're like, exciting, we've killed a bunch of people. Hey, whoo, I'm tingling all over. Sure. But most of us who aren't the psychopathic control grid people, we get a feeling of good when we do good. And it's there for a reason, which means we're supposed to do good. We're rewarded with the good feeling. Not that we should do things for a reward, but so there's the duality, there's the good and evil, and that's what I believe in. Will I name it the devil or an angel or God or, dark force? Not really, no. But I do believe in the creator and I do believe good and evil exist and I'm trying to choose good. Am I always successful? No. I still have issues of pride. I guess pride would be an issue. When somebody comes on my video and says, "You're ignorant," you feel like, oh, if I were the better person, I'd feel, oh, stupid, delete. But you still feel hurt. Your pride can be hurt. And maybe that's something to work on for all of us. I know I have issues with that. And I feel anger sometimes. I mean, righteous anger, of course, the things people might say and do. But I try to be calm, remain calm, and realize it doesn't really matter in the end. Just keep doing what you're doing if you're doing the right thing. We all have our little things we're working on, trying to be better people. Well, maybe not all of us. The psychopathic control grid, no, they're not working on anything except being worse. But yeah, trying to do good, trying to smile, try to be positive, go forward.
Well, that's kind of what your show is all about, though, isn't it? It's about, I mean, I see nothing negative in your show, which is why it gets frustrating when people knock it, because there's nothing negative about telling people the truth and putting this information out there. But you're still subject to so much hatred. There's no other way of putting it.
Every day that I wake up and there's not a video talking about how horrible I am or making fun of me is a good day. It's funny how there's a little lull. There's no videos hating on me except the ones that have already been created. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's all, the storm's past. People are like, okay, we don't like her, some people, but she's here. We'll move on. We'll start hating somebody else. But no, they come out with another video. It's like a little period of reprieve where there's nothing. And then all of a sudden I wake up to 20 messages from people like, did you see the video out? Link. And I'm like, oh God, do I even want to watch? And I watch and I'm like, oh my God, how ridiculous. Ugh. That's only the energy I give to it. I don't thumbs it down, although I want to. I don't thumbs it down.
Side, I mean, you touched on this earlier, which is there's so much positivity in the flat Earth community. I know your guest later on tonight's Math Powerland, and he was one of the first people that got back in touch with me. And I was quite shocked, even when you got back in touch with me, that people were so quick to respond and so willing to share their information and talk to you. I was slightly overcome with how positive and friendly people in the flat Earth community are. Have you found the same with all of your guests?
Yes, in fact, when I first started doing interviews in August 23rd of 2015, my idea, as I had said earlier, was to talk to people and ask them the kind of questions I was wondering about them as I watched their videos and, give them additional exposure. Some of them were so big they didn't need additional exposure, but, hey, why not? There's nobody too big that doesn't need more exposure in flat Earth. We all need to be exposed more to, get the word out to as many people as possible. I was thinking to myself, well, maybe people are going to be thinking, who is she? Like, why would I ever go on her show? That's ridiculous. But people would be like, sure, I'd love to be on your show. Sure, I'd love to. That's the positivity. That's the thing where you're like, this is fantastic. People really, they're here for the right reasons. They're
definitely
doing this for the right reasons. And they know, they can tell I'm doing this for the right reasons. So yeah, it's a great feeling when you message somebody and they get back to you I've not had anybody say no yet. Well, no, there is one person who said no. So, but one person said, I won't mention this person, said, no, I'd love to be on your show, but you're, quote, too hot right now. And I wrote, what do you mean too hot? And they said, there's a couple of videos out about you that a lot of people have questions about. And I don't want to be on your show because that would make me look like I'm condoning these things that are negative that are being said about you. And I'm like, okay. And this person said, well, maybe later when the heat dies down. And I thought, that's really horrible. And I struggled with myself and said, what do I do? Do I message this person back in a month or two and say, will you be on my show now? Or do I write that person off completely, because righteously so, I should be mad at them for not having the guts to have their own belief system and relying on worrying about what other people think about them and believing a video that's completely bogus anyway. But in the end, I decided to take the high road and recontacted that person, who then said they were sorry for believing these lies about me and they would be willing to come on my show. I'm not naming that person now. No need to call them out. And I never even addressed that with them when we did a show. But I know how they felt, which was they believed lies. They were dumb. Let's go on your show and do this thing. And that's how it worked out. So in the end, it turned out to be positive. But there is one person who's declined to go on my show. And anybody can probably figure out who that potentially might be.
Yeah, Eric Debate.
Talk about it. Oh, okay. Well, you said it, not me. Yeah, he was probably the first person I ever asked to go on. And he heard me go on Mark Sargent's show and just branded me with the label shill after that, thinking, why would Mark Sargent, who he doesn't like anyway, put me, an unknown at the time, on his show and interview me? Why would she get a show on that show? Strange World. Why? That's crazy. Something's wrong. They're connected. Shills. The reason was because I interviewed Mark Sargent, because Eric said no. And I got a hold of Matt, but our wires crossed and we never had that show work out. It's going to be working out later today. We're doing a show together. So I got Mark Sargent on my show. As anybody would who is in Flat Earth world, that's who you'd try to get on. And, I'd already contacted Eric. And Eric said, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And his thinking about it was mulling over why I'd been on Mark Sargent's show. So, it's maybe people who are big in the Flat Earth community, the big wigs, distrust each other and will distrust anybody who's gone on the other people's shows. But the reality is there should be no enemies because we're all on the same plane, literally. That's, evident that we are all trying to wake other people up to Flat Earth. Everyone has different models, as we've discussed earlier. And although you may not agree with other people's models, or you might think the other guy's a jerk, fine. But there's no need to take up arms against others, because then we are being exactly the same as the control grid we're trying to get away from. I'm not saying we all need to, join hands and, sing and love each other, but kind of, sort of, at least respect each other, difference of opinions, but still share each other's work. We're on the same team. The division aspect is what, if this ever does go mainstream, is going to be maybe the death of us, because mainstream is going to pick up on hating videos made about varying people, videos hating different races and religions, and point those out and paint us as psychos. And that's going to turn off potential new Flat Earthers if it ever goes mainstream. So I still would have Eric on today, even if he's done as much as humanly possible to try to make me disappear off the face of the earth. So I'd still interview him today. And
yeah, that's because what he's got to say about Flat Earth, you cannot put down. He's excellent at putting the information across.
Oh, yes. And I'm the first to say that. In fact, when I first became a Flat Earther in March 2015, before I actually started doing a show, because it took me a while to digest it and figure out what I was going to do, I started Flat Earthing on my Facebook, taking little tiny steps. And at that point, I was talking about art and fashion, which is the two things I was interested in, and veganism. That was what my Facebook was. And I was definitely a vegan advocate. You could go on my page and today, and it's peppered with Flat Earth, Flat Earth. At that time, prior to my Flat Earth discovery, it was veganism. And I had a ton of vegan friends, and it was all about vegan activism, which I still participate in, but less so, because to me, Flat Earth is the larger topic and veganism is an aspect of Flat Earth, where if we all realize we are as one, we may treat animals better too, as well as each other, humans. And I'm not saying that as a way to be angry at people who eat meat or whatever. I'm just saying that indeed, if we all see each other as equals and as one on a flat plane, then we can maybe extrapolate that to fellow creatures. So I was doing all that vegan stuff and then changed to Flat Earth. And I was sharing Eric Dubay's videos with people who had no idea what Flat Earth was. I had zero Flat Earth friends. I was the only Flat Earther in the group of people that were on my Facebook, and I had several thousand friends at the time, more now. But I would be sharing Eric Dubay videos probably daily. And Eric Dubay was my Facebook friend, although we didn't really interact, just because he was vegan. I'm vegan. I was a new flat earther. I would tag him in things like, this is the latest Eric Dubay video. You know, if you're not into flat earth, you should listen to this and check it out. And or I'd put Mark Sargent's or Matt Powerlands, everybody. I was pretty naive at that point when I first started out. I didn't understand the divisions, the lines in the sand that had been drawn by 2 out of those 3 names. One of the people doesn't really draw any lines, as a kind of Mark, who's kind of open to both. But Matt and Eric, they drew lines and had distinct camps, I guess. And then you could say that Mark has a camp of people who believe there's a dome, but it's a very loosely knit camp. They're not behind him. Like Eric's got IFers, and Matt has people who want to go to Antarctica. And Mark just has people who like believe there's a dome or whatever. You know, it's more loosely knit, but all valid, love them all, shared all their work. Tagged Eric in the stuff I shared. A few times he commented favorably. But his hatred of me, it's really literally hatred. It's not just dislike. It's bordering on kind of a little obsessive, I guess. I mean, IFers, people have told me the stuff he's posted there about me, there's pages of hate, and all of the admins posting and analyzing even the records that are behind me in here, which are favorite group from the 80s, the Smiths, and the lead singer Morrissey, and how they say, one of the people on IFRS, not Eric, one of his buddies there was saying that he promotes child abuse. And I'm like, Morrissey doesn't promote child abuse. Morrissey was abused in the school system in the UK, hit with a ruler on the knuckles, and was quite against the system of control that children were put into. But this person did an analysis of Morrissey's character and called him a pedophile and a child abuse. It was like this. Reading this thing somebody sent me and thinking, this is really nuts. So it's a hatred aspect, and the reason that they hate me, I have no idea. I'm still going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm not doing something that's earth-shattering and rule-breaking crazy. I'm simply just interviewing people and expressing my own opinion. And weirdly enough, my opinion lines pretty much up with Eric Dubay's on most areas. Not all, but most areas. We're technically on the same team. In fact, all of us flat earthers are on the same team with little variations and little dips. And there's some areas where we're like, oh no, I'm not going with that way that particular guy's going. But I like everything else he does. And that's fine to do that. It's completely fine. I am open to all flat earthers and just feel a sense of connectedness with everyone. And I'm somewhat shocked when people are against me for just merely even breathing air.
Mm-hmm. It's quite psychopathic behavior. I mean, I know, Eric, when you had Jeranism on your show recently, and Jeranism had a similar sort of story when it comes to Eric Dubay. He was all in support of Jeranism. He even sent him Bitcoin to conduct one of his experiments. So he's sort of what I would describe as love bombing, all for and, positivity and all the rest of it, only to later completely condemn the person and spew hatred about them, which is quite psychopathic behavior.
And accuse Jaron of stealing the $200 that he openly donated to Jaron for laser experiment.
Yeah, essentially accusing him of theft. Again, very psychopathic.
Yeah, so I don't understand it. I wonder sometimes if there's something beyond Eric that's controlling Eric. And it's all theory. So potentially he's just a guy in Thailand with very strong beliefs and believes he's right. Or there could be something else to it. I don't really know. There's a certain level of hate that a person could have for another person where it just goes beyond simple, I don't like that person. You look with celebrities, and I'm not involved with celebrity culture, but if you go on any magazine, look at any magazine, you'll see, Kim Kardashian, and then people saying, I hate her. She's a bitch. She's this. Her butt's too big. All of this sort of anger and hatred toward a person that doesn't know they exist and doesn't care they exist and isn't really hurting them. Might be a negative aspect of society, somebody being famous for just being famous. Okay, fine. But just this level, this hatred leveled at a person, it makes no sense to me, but it is part of humanity that we have this. Some people think it's jealousy. And I've been told, well, he's just jealous of you. And I'm like, I've got 4,000 subscribers. He's got a lot. It couldn't be jealousy. I'm not trying to steer people away from his model, but I have been accused, since my last name is Steere, by all at IFRS of steering the flat earth.
Towards what?
Steering, I don't know, steering the flat earth. I'm steering the flat earth. It's all over IFRS when they mention me, but it's a play on my last name.
It's just, it's all flat earth. I mean, that's what all you're putting out there is flat earth. I don't get it.
I'm not positioning myself as a leader. I've never said, follow me. I don't know. It's just, and people pick up on it. People who haven't done their research will pick up on it and just parrot it back to me.
As you say, because all three, you know, Mark Sargent, Eric DeBay, and Matt Powerland all do the same thing. They are all pointing out where NASA lies. They're all pointing out eye-level horizons. They're all pointing out that you can still see the ship. You know, they're all pointing out that we never see a curve. All of these guys are singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, and they all have fantastic work. I might not agree with, in fact, I don't agree with all of them on one or two issues. Every single one of them have issues I don't agree with. And I've spoken to on my show all of those things I don't agree with. And it's my prerogative to do so. And I believe that there's only a few people who will 100% agree with any of those three people. Only a few. The real, like, super fans will only agree with, you know, with them. Other than that, they present information that they've researched, that they got from other people. And none of these people originated their research. I mean, Matt was first on the scene, mainstream-wise. You know, I mean, there's people who've been talking about flat Earth for, I don't know, hundreds of years. But I'm talking about in modern times. But much research has been done beforehand and can be found in classic books. So it's not a new idea. Nobody birthed this idea. Nobody owns the idea of flat Earth. The more people who talk about it, the better. And, you know, I think that the three main people, because they've got so much traction and have so many hits on their videos, and their videos are what come up as suggested videos, we have to thank them, although they didn't originate the material, because they are, in one way or the other, some of the people that helped in waking us all up. And I do definitely thank even Eric DeBay for that. I bought all of his books, you know, and I felt kind of foolish after he's telling me basically I'm lower than dirt, that I gave you my money for all those books. That makes me feel pretty sad, but whatever.
Yeah,
good
I mean, all the negativity aside, a lot of the reason for the hatred is because of differing theories that plug holes where the heliocentric model has got everything down. They've got an explanation for almost everything, and people like that. Mark Sargent phrases it nicely when he uses the words from Men in Black. People like to think they've got a good bead on things. Is there any theories that you like to cling on to because they plug holes that you've been left with since detaching yourself from the heliocentric model?
You mean, are there any theories, or are there any like proofs of the globe that I still hold on to? Like, oh,
not
well,
the globe necessarily, but back to sort of, it's my ham-handed way of almost saying, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer dome theory, or do you prefer infinite plane theory?
I think that there is an enclosure of some sort. I don't think it's something that you can walk up to and knock on. It could be just some kind of energy. This is based on things I've read, different religions, different ways things are phrased, which of course are written by men. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Some experiments that have been done, things with sundogs, things involving rainbows, that I also believe that there's got to be more land too. Potentially, there could be many flat Earths, somehow enclosed, stacked on each other, side to side, puddles, as they say. But at some point, I feel that it has to be enclosed and protected on some level, maintained terrarium style in some way, in order to keep everything together. That brings the creator aspect into it, takes away the Big Bang aspect of it. And why do I believe that? Well, at the risk of sounding foolish, I feel it. It's my feeling, my gut feeling, my heart feeling. Maybe that's not scientific, but I think science is missing heart. And that's why we've bought into all the NASA lies, things you can prove with math. Doesn't matter if you don't feel like you're, we don't feel like we're moving. Well, shut up with those feelings. Here's the math that proves it. This doesn't make sense to me. Oh, it doesn't matter because here's the proof. So how we feel like when we were children about what the world seemed, the sun looked pretty close to me. So did the moon sometimes. But when they tell us how far away these things are, it just doesn't go with how you really feel. And they've taken the feeling out of us and replaced it with all of these lies. So I like to go with my feelings.
Spiritual as well, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
one YouTuber we haven't touched on yet, which I'm really keen to talk about with you, is Tiger Dan. Again, another former guest of yours. Yes. How did you get on with Tiger Dan? Obviously, I've watched it, but...
Yes, I instantly loved him. I thought he's wonderful. What a great personality. Funny, very charming, very bright and quick-witted. Some of the things he's done, including the raps he's done, where he comes back in and after just doing a good job but bad at the same time, to the point where it's not so cringeworthy where you turn away, but where you're like knowing he's laughing at what he's doing, but he really means it. And so you want to just say, yeah, go, it's great. And then he comes back in and drops his last famous line into the mic. And it just makes me feel excited about Flat Earth because of all the different methods and ways people are presenting their proofs, their knowledge. And, I like what he does. I like the way he thinks. Do I like everything he's done? No. Does anybody like everything everybody's done? Do I believe all things that he does are correct? No, because even himself, I'm sure, could do something or prove something and then think later, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. We're humans. We're taking, in his case anyway, taking scripture and putting it into the world of Flat Earth and explaining things. So, but I love Tiger Dan. I really like him, and I think he's really fun too. So enjoyable and really a good person for those who are interested in tying scripture in with the whole Flat Earth.
Yeah, he does the really good proofs as well, doesn't he? He does the simple experiments that you see him do them and go, damn, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I go up to the coastline with the spirit level? Why didn't I think of that first? It's so simple, but yet genius at the same time.
Yeah, it's good. And there's other videos that have been done by other YouTubers like Jesse Spots. He's done some recent videos pertaining to things that are opposite of the way Tiger Dan is looking at things, with the dome and the sun and rainbows. And so you can look at both of their work and then you make up your own decision about the way you think it is. And Jeffrey Grupp has done some stuff pertaining to the dome and sundogs, and he's going to be coming out with new things. He's going to be a guest on my show in the future after the first of the year, 2016. Wow, 2016, that's the first time I've said it. So, wow, time's going. So just these different proofs are exciting. These different personalities are entrancing. I love to meet these new flat earthers that are coming up. I look every day, maybe 4 or 5 times a day, because I'm obsessed, at new flat earth videos. I just set the filter to today. I used to set it to this week, but that's useless now. Today is even useless. It should be last 4 hours. They should put that setting in, because they're just coming, bam, bam, bam. And love to watch new people, especially new young people, with their, we've woke up, oh my gosh, we're flat earthers. And they're filled with that feeling and joy. I'm getting a little chills saying it right now, that excitement of discovering flat earth, and they're like freeing themselves. Yeah, they probably still have to go to some job that's in the matrix, and they still have to pay their rent and deal with all the other normal stuff. But a part of them, like almost their soul, if you want to believe in souls, it is free now, and they are expressing this in their video, and people are coming out with songs, and it's really a joyful thing. Flat earth, it's best thing that's ever happened in my life anyway.
Have you got any other bits and pieces that you want to plug before we wrap up in maybe about 5 minutes time? I know you've got Matt on later on.
Yes, Matt Powerland, Matt Boylan, Matt, I'm not even sure what to call him. I'll call him all those names.
I think he likes Matt Powerland.
Yes, Matt Powerland is what I think of him as when I think of him in my mind. But he's going to be on Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes today at 5 p.m. Central Time, and that should be fun. I've got a guy who goes by the YouTube name of Flatwater coming on Friday.
Oh, cool.
Flatwater has done so many videos. He's the most prolific video maker. I can't keep up with all of his videos, and it's on all sorts of different topics too. So check out his channel and subscribe to that. I've got some other stuff happening. Still waiting for that Eric Dubay video.
Which Eric Dubay video?
Oh, just if Eric just one day messages me and says, I'll do your show.
Oh, I see. You're waiting for him to actually agree to come on your show and talk flat Earth with you. He's
not going to. I'm just sort of joking. But, you know.
I ideally hope he does. I mean,
the invitation's been given.
Say again?
I'm sorry. This Google Hangouts is so easy to talk over each other. My apologies. The invitation has been extended, and I've not retracted it. So you never know. I've had Mark Sargent on, and now Matt Powerland. And so Eric is the missing puzzle piece. His absence being glaringly obvious is sad, actually. Not that my show's the be-all, end-all of shows, but, you know, it just seems like he should be on a show that is talking about flat Earth. But he may have other things that he's doing that are more important. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't seem at all bitter about his hatred towards you. Quite the contrary. No. And I think maybe if he knew that, I mean, so if you did a show with him, I would be the first to watch, and I would be glued to it, and I wouldn't have any thoughts of, you know, former hatreds towards each other, if there are any from your end, which I don't think there are. No. You know, I just want to see you and him talk flat Earth. I'm sure everyone else would agree with me.
Yeah, it would be a really great show. It would be fantastic on many levels. It would be, at least on the surface, a smoothing of some tensions that he's created, which smoothing of tensions in flat Earth, hey, I'm all for it, because we don't need tensions. We don't need division. And it would just be great because it's just more information being put out there by key flat Earthers. So I'm open to it. The invitation never been retracted by me to him. It was the first person I ever invited on, actually, as a guest. So, yeah, you know. Life goes on either way.
Yeah, that's it. I can't wait to see you into math. I'm really, really excited.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I heard him on with you, and I'm going to try to ask him different questions than you did, just so that we don't have two back-to-back very similar interviews. But you know, it's almost the same questions are the ones you'd want to ask. You know, so
I wouldn't worry. 70% of my video with him got trashed and is now on the cutting room floor at Google. So
that happened to me with an interview I did with the YouTuber Star Gods, who I dearly love. We did a 2-hour show, and somehow, I mean, I had it was recording, it showed live, and when I pushed stop and went back to go look at what was recorded, it was just partial. I don't know where, how. I even wrote Google.
It's just one of those things. I'm glad I did 3 and a bit hours with him, otherwise we might have only ended up with 15 minutes.
Right, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens with my show too. You know how Matt is always saying that, you know, they're after him and they're bugging things and they're stopping things technology-wise. He even mentioned that when you and he were on together.
While he brought it up, I mean, I'm going to ask you this quite directly. Do you believe him?
Do I believe that he's bugged and monitored? Okay, I have 2 schools of thought. One is no, because it seems too weird. But the second is yes, because flat Earth seems weird. So weird things could be happening. Who am I to say that it's not happening to him? I'm not him. Because it's not happened to me, hey, I'm small potatoes at this point. And or mashed potatoes, I don't know. It could be happening to him. But it doesn't seem logical that it would happen to him, because if they wanted to stop him, they could just kill him easily. He could be made to have a heart attack, and the autopsy would even show that it was a natural heart attack. The powers that be do these things. We know this. So if they really wanted to stop him, he would have been stopped long before he even ever did his first comedy show. But he hasn't been stopped. But then again, you know, who knows? It may not be the powers that be that are doing these things to him. It could be just somebody who's not that important that's able to mess with technology. You know, I don't really know. And I don't know, we're still doing this show live, but when you push the button and end the show, it could only be 15 minutes possibly. And we're the victims of some sort of technology being interrupted by powers that be. Who knows?
Should we roll the dice quickly and tell everyone all about Antarctica? It's a wall of ice. It's all around us. It's not a continent. So
Right.
There you go. That's caused a massive problem.
Yes, exactly. The Earth is flat, everyone. Get on board the train. Woo-hoo.
Not a globe. You've been lied to. Sorry.
Exactly. In fact, we don't even really need to do these shows. That's it. What you just said and what I said, period. End of story. No need to ever talk to anybody or interview again. That is the foundation. That is the message. The rest is theory, and it's fun, but Earth being flat, it's not a globe. That's it. We're done here.
and we never went to the moon.
Oh, that's true. Oh, well, yeah, we could continue on with that, with all the other things that we've never done and that are happening with our food supply and our air and education for kids and vaccines and drug companies and cancer and, you know, the other hot potato, so to speak.
That's it.
And listen,
do you mind if I give a quick
much.
plug to Wakey Wakey? I did this on one of the other shows as well. I know you've got one of his key rings, have you not?
Oh, yes, I do. I actually was given one sent to me in the mail by somebody else, and I purchased two. They're beautiful. You got yours?
Yeah, I got mine. I ordered it straight away. I was so pleased when I got it. Just because it's cool, because it's something that you do leave lurking around. And, you know, I don't know if you can probably out of focus, but it's just an interesting talking point when someone sees it on the table and says, what's that? You know, you can explain to someone how Antarctica works rather than having just the verbal description. You can actually show them what it looks like. I know you've got a lot of flat earth clocks now as well, haven't you?
I've got 2 flat earth clocks as well. I've got a flat earth frisbee. I was sent a DVD about the moon, and soon to have 3 flat earth keychains. So that's quite a lot. I could use like 2 as earrings, the other just for my keys. But yeah, I think that it's neat. I think it's cool. And Matt makes flat earth t-shirts, and I don't know how the sales of those are going. I've seen him wearing them in videos. So I think it's fun. It's, you know, people say, oh, you know, we got to get out of this system of commerce that we're in and the using, you know, paper money. And maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe there's a better system, but until we have the better system, we are living in the system we're currently living in, and we need to have keys because people do break into your homes. Yes, better world, we would not need key rings, but yet we do. And so we have that world, and so we need keychains. And if you're going to have a keychain, why not make it a flat earth keychain?
Yeah, that's it. Why not have one for Wakey Wakey with a flat earth on it?
Yeah.
So
I love their Flat Earth Rebel Outpost show too. I'm waiting for their next episode to come up.
Yeah, check today to see if it was out, and yeah, it's imminent, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed, exciting. All right, wonderful. I'm really. It's funny being interviewed as opposed to being the interviewer. So I hope I didn't ask you too many questions. I was trying to like hold back.
No, you've been an absolutely superb guest. It's been a real delight having you on Flat Earth UK Live. Thank you so much for being here, Patricia Steere.
Thank you, Nathan Oakley.
It's my pleasure. And to all the people in the chat, thank you very, very much for tuning in. I've been Nathan Oakley. I will see you in the next video.